Hey there, and welcome back to the Doula Johanna podcast. Before we get started, I just want to say a big thank you. It honestly makes my day when I hear from you, whether it's a quick message about how the podcast has impacted you or some feedback on an episode. Knowing that these conversations bring value to your life means so much to me. I'm so grateful for every one of you. So thank you. It really means the world. Today, I want to share with you the books that had the biggest impact on my life last year. These aren't just books I've enjoyed, they've been total game changers for me. They've brought so much wisdom, practical advice, and inspiration to me, and I honestly feel like my life is better for having read them. Today's episode will be slightly longer than my usual format, so grab your tea, get comfy, and let's jump right in. Let's start with Atomic Habits by James Clear, a book that completely changed how I approach personal growth. Life as a busy mom, doula, and part-time employee can feel overwhelming, and sometimes only thinking about adding something new to my day feels impossible. But what I learned from Atomic Habits is that meaningful change doesn't come from overhauling your life overnight. It's about starting small with changes so tiny they seem almost insignificant at first. Clear breaks down the science of habit formation in such a practical, no-nonsense way. One of his key points is that habits aren't about willpower. They are about systems. He writes, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." That really hit home for me. So often I've set big goals and felt defeated when I didn't achieve them quickly enough. This book helped me shift my focus. Instead of obsessing over outcomes, I started building small, sustainable systems to support the kind of life I want to live. For me, this journey felt deeply personal. I remember thinking, I want to be a strong, active person who can play with her children and be fully present for them. But I also knew that wanting that wasn't enough. I needed a system to get there. The first habit I focused on was pelvic floor exercises. After having kids, I wanted to ensure my body stayed strong and functional for the long haul. But finding extra time for yet another thing felt impossible. Clear's concept of habit stacking saved me. The idea is to pair a new habit with something you already do every day. I decided to do my pelvic floor exercises while brushing my teeth. 2 minutes in the morning and evening. It didn't take any extra time, and now it's so automatic that I don't even think about it. Another habit I wanted to build was practicing gratitude. I've always loved the idea of showing gratitude on a daily basis, but I struggled to make it a consistent practice. So I used another simple system. I put my gratitude journal right on my laptop. Every day before I start working, I pick it up, write one sentence about something I'm thankful for. It takes less than 2 minutes, but it shifts my mindset and reminds me of the abundance in my life, even on chaotic days. One of the most powerful lessons from the book is that small, consistent changes compound over time to create big results. Clear talks about the 1% rule. If you can get 1% better every day, those tiny improvements add up exponentially. It's a philosophy that transformed how I approach everything, from my health, my work, to my relationships. I also love how Atomic Habits encourages you to think about identity. Clear says that instead of just focusing on what you want to achieve, you should ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be? For me, it wasn't just about having strong pelvic floor muscles or a consistent gratitude practice. It was about becoming a strong, present, and grateful person. When you align your habits with the person you want to become, the process feels more meaningful and you're more likely to stick with it. This book has been a game changer for me, and I've seen how its principles can work for the women I support as a doula. Whether it's preparing for birth or adjusting to postpartum life, the key is to focus on small, actionable steps. For example, instead of trying to tackle every challenge at once, pick one habit that feels manageable and build from there. If you're looking for a book that will inspire you and give you practical tools for real, lasting change, I can't recommend Atomic Habits enough. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, day after day for the life you want to create. The second book I want to talk about today, because it really enriched my life last year, is Sync Reflections by Marla Silly. That's really her name, or that's apparently how you pronounce it. Let me take you back to a time when I felt completely stuck. We were living in our old apartment, small, cramped, and totally chaotic. I was constantly frustrated with myself for not being able to keep it tidy. And that frustration spiraled into an overwhelming sense of total failure. I remember thinking, if I can't manage this apartment, how will I ever handle the home I dream of? A bigger space with a backyard for my kids. I felt trapped in resentment towards the apartment, unable to see it as the home where my family's memories were being made. Then I heard a podcast that completely shifted my mindset. It talked about treating your current home as if it were your dream home. Not just out of gratitude, but as a way to show the universe you're ready to step up. That resonated deeply with me. How could I expect to manifest a beautiful new house if I wasn't taking care of what I already had? So I started looking for cleaning systems and stumbled upon Marla Silly, aka the Fly Lady, and her book Sync Reflections. Marla's approach was a revelation to me. She didn't pretend to be perfect. She openly shared her struggles, even identifying herself as a slob for much of her life. That honesty gave me hope, because I always thought that I'm the only one. One of her key messages is about self-compassion and progress over perfection. She reminds readers, you are not behind, you are exactly where you need to be. That simple reassurance changed how I approached everything. Instead of focusing on how much I hadn't done, I started to embrace small steps forward. Her first step, shining your sink, seemed almost laughable to me. How could something so small make a difference? But I gave it a try, and something amazing happened. That shiny sink wasn't just clean. It became a symbol of hope. It reminded me that I could take control in small, meaningful ways, and those small wins started to snowball. I practice her system in our old apartment, and while I'm far from perfect at following it, the structure transformed my mindset. I wrote down my daily, weekly, and monthly tasks in a journal, divided our home into 5 zones, and even when life gets chaotic, I know I can always come back to it. My husband and I clean the kitchen every evening now. Waking up to a shiny sink and a tidy space sets the tone for the entire day. It makes such a difference. The Fly Lady concept of hotspots, those clutter-prone areas that tend to spiral out of control, was another game changer for me. Working on those spaces brought me so much joy. Finally having a clean surface in my home. Learning about the Fly Lady system felt like I was equipping myself and my children with tools I never had growing up. My parents both struggle with letting things go, possibly due to their experiences as post-war children. I respect their struggles and their choices, and I still want something different for me and for my kids. A home that feels light, mostly tidy, and joyful. Here's the best part. Only weeks after starting the Fly Lady system, we actually found the house we live in now. A bigger space, a backyard, everything we dreamed of. Looking back, I truly believe that treating our old apartment like a dream home helped us get here. It felt like the universe saw I was ready to step up and said, okay, here you go, you can take care of it now. This book didn't just change how I manage my home. It made me feel less alone in my struggles, gave me confidence and a sense of control. The idea that small steps can create big transformations isn't just practical, it's empowering. If you're feeling overwhelmed with cleaning your house, I can't recommend Sync Reflections enough. Again, it's not a book about being perfect. It's about embracing where you are and taking small, consistent steps to create a home that you really love and that you're proud showing to people. The third book I want to present to you today is The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. Now that we've explored habit building with Atomic Habits and creating a home you enjoy living in with Sync Reflections, let's turn to a book that helped me transform my mindset. The Magic of Thinking Big was written in the 1950s, and this book has a distinctively old-timey tone, often using phrases that feel pretty outdated and geared toward mid-century male managers. For example, "Come on, Mr. Great, you can do it." While phrases like Mr. Great seem amusingly outdated, the timeless message of the book makes it worth the read. Your mindset determines your success. Schwartz challenges us to think beyond our current limitations and take bold action towards our dreams. This concept resonated deeply with me because I often catch myself relying on past experiences to define my future. Schwartz's message that the only real limits are the ones we place on ourselves was a game changer. I first read this book last autumn, and it felt like the perfect time to absorb its message. It inspired me and gave me the courage to finally start something completely new. This podcast. I've been putting that off for years. I was so full of doubts. Would anyone even resonate with the concept of being their own life doula? I had no tech skills, and the idea of recording, editing, and marketing a podcast felt absolutely overwhelming. But then I embraced a mindset shift inspired by the book. Instead of focusing on my insecurities, I asked myself, what if this works? What if I can learn the tech and improve over time? What if this podcast ends up impacting people's lives? By allowing myself to dream bigger, I took the leap. And here we are. So my key takeaways from The Magic of Thinking Big were: 1, you are what you think you are. Schwartz emphasizes that your thoughts shape your actions and ultimately your results. If you believe in your abilities to succeed, you'll act accordingly and success will follow. This shift in perspective is crucial for breaking free from limiting beliefs. 2, thinking big isn't unrealistic. Setting higher expectations for yourself doesn't mean aiming for perfection. Instead, it's about stretching your vision of what's possible. Even if you fall short, you'll achieve far more than if you had limited to yourself to small, safe goals. 3, believe in yourself. Self-belief is the cornerstone of success. Schwartz insists that no matter how solid your plans are, they won't lead you to success without confidence in your abilities. Trusting yourself is the first step to realizing your potential. And number 4 is take action. Big thinking must be paired with action. Schwartz urges readers to start moving forward their goals, even with small steps. Action builds momentum and progress fuels confidence. I can definitely attest to that. So, in my opinion, The Magic of Thinking Big is especially relevant for those of us juggling multiple roles, like mothers who are trying to balance work and family. It's easy to feel limited by time or energy, but Schwartz reminds us that dreaming big doesn't mean doing everything at once. It's about giving ourselves permission to imagine a life beyond our current circumstances, and then taking intentional steps to make it real. For me, this message ties beautifully into the idea of being your own life doula. It's about guiding yourself through self-doubt and uncertainty, dreaming boldly, and taking actionable steps toward your vision. Schwartz taught me that thinking big isn't about ignoring the challenges in your life. It's about believing you have the ability to rise above them. If you're feeling stuck or uninspired, this book is a powerful reminder to dream bigger, start small, and keep going. The 4th book that transformed my life was I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Let me be honest, reading this book wasn't easy for me. Money has always felt like this big, intimidating thing that only business-savvy people truly understand. When I picked it up, I felt nervous, almost like I was about to be exposed for being an ignorant idiot. But as I read, I realized how simple and even fun money management could be. For someone who's always been overwhelmed by finances, that was a game changer. The hardest part? Accepting how much time I wasted by not getting educated about money earlier. I used to believe you had to be born into understanding money or have a fancy degree or a super smart advisor. So yes, there was regret, thinking, if only I'd known this at 20, where would I be now? But here's the thing. Being your own life doula means letting go of regret and focusing on what you can do now. The only moment that matters is the present. So instead of shutting the book, I asked myself, what can I do with this knowledge today? And that's what I've done. I've made small changes that have already started making a really big difference in my life. For example, I switched to a free bank account. I was sick and tired of paying so many fees for not that much of an advantage. I let go of my financial advisor. I talked to you about that in an earlier episode because he wasn't helping me to meet my goals. I created an ETF portfolio for retirement. Yes, me, someone who thought stocks were out of reach. I automated as much as possible so I don't have to think about it. While I'm not exactly where I want to be, or not at all yet, I'm finally on the right track, and I'm the one holding the map. One concept that also stood out from the book was the idea of a rich life. It's not just about accumulating money. It's about what you want your life to look like. For me, it's taking my family on vacations a few times a year, knowing that our retirement is secure and having a 6-month savings buffer and donating to causes close to my heart, like women's shelters and rainforest conservation. This ties directly to being your own life doula. Just like creating a birth plan, envisioning your rich life doesn't mean automatically everything will go perfectly how you planned it. It's about setting a direction, giving yourself permission to dream and taking small steps towards that dream. With money, I've stopped waiting for a miracle or a big break. I'm creating my rich life now, one small step at a time. One quote from the book really resonated with me. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be better than you were yesterday. That's such a powerful reminder and seems to be a theme with the books I loved last year, right? It's easy to feel overwhelmed or like you need to have everything figured out, but that's not the point. The point is progress, and progress is what matters most. If you're listening to this and feeling like you're behind in your financial journey, know this. You are not alone. I felt the exact same way, and I'm still learning. But what this book taught me, and what I hope you take away, is that it's never too late to start. Whether it's automating your savings, starting a retirement plan, or talking openly with your kids and your partner about money, every small change matters. Just like in my doula work, it's about supporting yourself through the process. Even when things feel messy or unclear, every step forward counts. Last but not least, I want to talk to you about book number 5 that really shifted the way I view my body, my life, and the world around me. It's Womb by Leah Hazard. This isn't just a book about the physical womb. It's about connecting deeply with our bodies, minds, and the natural world. Hazard explores the profound significance of the womb, not just in our reproductive health, but in our emotional well-being too. And let me tell you, some of the insights were both surprising and powerful. One of the most impactful ideas in this book for me was the concept that trauma can be stored in the womb. The womb isn't just a vessel for creating life. It also acts like an emotional and physical memory bank. Hazard talks about how trauma, whether you're from your own lives or even passed down through generations, can have a direct impact on your womb health. As a doula, I see this often. The womb can hold onto all kinds of experiences, whether it's past pregnancies, childhood trauma, or cultural and societal pressures. It's a reminder that healing isn't just physical, it's emotional and spiritual too. But beyond that, one of the most transformative aspects of womb for me was learning more about cyclical living, aligning with the natural rhythms of our bodies. As women, we go through so many cycles: our menstrual cycle, pregnancy, postpartum, and menopause. And when I reflect on my own life, I realize how much I resisted these cycles. As a busy mom, wife, and freelancer, I was constantly pushing through exhaustion, ignoring my body's needs, and trying to keep up with a non-stop, one-speed-fits-all way of living. Like I wasn't a human being, but a machine. I paid for that by being sick often, as it was the only way I would allow myself a proper break. But when I started embracing the idea of cyclical living, everything changed. We're not designed to function on a straight, unchanging timeline. Our bodies are cyclical, moving through phases like menstruation, ovulation, and beyond, and each phase needs something different from us. For years, I ignored this reality, pushing through exhaustion and pretending I didn't need rest. But giving myself permission to slow down, especially before my period, has been life-changing. Whether it's pausing work or just being more present with my family, honoring my body's rhythms has made life feel more balanced and sustainable. It's not just about rest either. I've started aligning my movement and self-care with my cycle, and it's been incredible. I feel more grounded, more energized, and honestly, more compassionate towards myself. It's a shift that's rippled out to my family too. By modeling self-compassion, I'm teaching my kids that it's okay to listen to their bodies and respect their own rhythms. And speaking of life phases, let's talk about menopause. For so long, it's been framed as something to dread, but Leah Hazard's womb turned that idea on its head for me. She encourages us to see menopause as a powerful transition, a time of freedom, wisdom, and growth. That shift in perspective was huge. I'm starting to view menopause as a beginning, not an ending. No more managing cycles or worrying about pregnancies, but instead stepping into a chapter of new adventures and deeper connections. Hazard reminds us that every stage of life is worth celebrating. I'll dedicate a full episode to menopause soon because there's so much to explore here. What I love most about womb is its reminder that our natural rhythms, whether in our childbearing years or beyond, are something to honor and embrace. Wherever you are in your journey, I hope this inspires you to celebrate your body cycles and view every phase as a chance for new possibilities. Let's see menopause and all transitions as beginnings, not endings. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and hearing about the 5 books that left a big mark on me last year. As I shared this with you, one thing became crystal clear. 2024 was all about embracing growth, not chasing perfection. I'd love to know if you're as passionate about books as I am. Do you want to hear more book summaries or deep dives into the lessons I've learned from my favorite reads? Let me know what you think. As always, I would very much appreciate if you would share this episode with a friend or write a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps my podcast to grow, and I truly appreciate your help. Thank you so much for tuning in today. See you next week. Take care and be your own life doula.